The New York Rangers are forced into an impossible decision as we know Chris Drury wants to rebuild the defense core heading into next season to once again compete in the Eastern Conference, but a decision on one defenseman in particular on whether to keep him or trade him looms, and we're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the New York Rangers, as again, it's going to be a crazy summer of moves, much like this one, and decisions that are looming, go down below, hit that subscribe button. It is free, and you get to stay up to date with everything going on with the New York Rangers. Now, let's dive right into it. Keandre Miller is the defenseman we're talking about. Do the Rangers keep him? Do they trade him? What is the plan? We will get to it in this video. And, a lot of fans are calling for the team to trade him. They actively have to do something about him this offseason. Either trade him or sign him, right? He needs a contract. This is not something where it's like, do we want to keep him on the team? Maybe we'll move him for something. No, you actively have to make a decision here. Either sign him or trade him. Now, let's start here with this Twitter user, Mark, because, a lot of people, like he says, there's a lot of talk in here about whether the Rangers should move on from Keandre Miller or re-sign him. In his opinion, sign him and keep him at the right price. Here are some more thoughts. And I thought that Mark brought up some really good points about Keandre Miller because there's a lot of chatter out there about, trading him. And I'm sure a lot of people think that the Rangers might be better without him. And honestly, that might be true. It might be true for some reasons we'll get to in a bit. We're going to get to some stats, advanced analytics, stuff like that. But what if I told you you could add a defenseman to the roster who's 6'5", 215 pounds, only 25 years old, great skater, averages 21 minutes of ice time a night, which is another thing. He plays a lot of minutes, right, against really tough competition. But, that is Keandre Miller, right? You'd be intrigued by somebody with that stat line, the numbers, everything that you can see here in this tweet. And yes, I understand the stats aren't everything. Yes, we all know that, he can make some really poor decisions with and without the puck in his own zone. But because of that, he's an average defenseman, or is it because he's been a product of poor coaching and development? Now, I think it's a product of more poor development than it is coaching, honestly, and they go hand in hand, right? This organization is not well known for developing players, right? But he then goes on to say that, the Rangers should re-sign him, should keep him. Now, a lot of fans don't think that is the case, but he gives another example here, and I think it's really good. And he goes, number one, when paired with Adam Fox last year, this duo was extremely effective. We're talking about one of the craziest, highest rated D pairs in the NHL. Yes, small sample size. Could it be that Miller has been paired with other defensemen who weren't the right fit, like Jacob Trouba? I think he spent some time with, Schneider this year as well. Now, let's look at the advanced analytics. If you look at this is from Money Puck. Expected goals for per 60 minutes, defense pairings in the NHL with at least 30 minutes playing together. Look where they are. Top 10 in the league. It's Miller and Fox. For a team that did not make the playoffs, top 10 in the league is not bad. If Miller is going to stay on this team, he should probably be playing with Fox. And is that a bad thing? Earlier this season, I thought it wouldn't work out because Ryan Lindgren was still on the team. And Ryan Lindgren is playing great now in Colorado, but he's playing lower in the lineup, right? Diminished role. So he's not a top pairing defenseman. Ryan Lindgren, this is. Miller can be. Keandre Miller could possibly be that, good partner for Adam Fox. Now, is this an elite defensive pairing? Probably not, right? Like, let's not kid ourselves, right? But I think it lengthens the rest of the lineup a little bit more than trying to find a spot for Keandre Miller. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is last season, the advanced analytics don't lie. If you look at any of them, not just the, goals for per 60 minutes, Miller and Fox and the eye test, they weren't too bad together. I think Miller's biggest problem, he has all the tools. He's got a shot. He can make passes sometimes. Sometimes they're pizzas through the middle of the ice, but nonetheless, he can make passes. He's a big body. He has all the tools. He does not have high hockey IQ. I don't know if he understands the game as well as some other players. I think that's one of his biggest things. Now, the second thing, if the Rangers trade him, it better be for a haul and not just like a measly 4th round pick. If the Rangers trade Keandre Miller, they need a lot of pieces back in return. You're not trading Keandre Miller just to trade Keandre Miller. I'd rather keep him and re-sign him. And I think, actually, I was going to get to it later in the video. I think you do keep him. I think you do re-sign him, but it has to be at a very, cost-effective, contract there. Now, he does make $3.8 million right now. It's year two of two, obviously an RFA. So there is team control. There's no, not too much pressure to get it done. Obviously, you don't want, offer sheets, any of that weird stuff to kind of take over here. But I think that there is an avenue to get this guy re-signed to a very, team-friendly contract, hopefully. So I think that is the way it's going to go. He didn't have a great season. He did not have a great season. Earlier this season, his agent came out and said, we want a significant raise. We want a long-term contract, all of that. Keandre Miller also spoke out on the season that was, and he said, kind of hard to talk about my future here, obviously. I have a great agent that is going to help me throughout this summer's process. I love being a New York Ranger. I think this has been some of the best years of my life. These last 5 years have been unforgettable in about every aspect you can think of. Now, at the end of the day, this is all nice. We know he wants to be a New York Ranger, all of that. But the Rangers, Chris Drury, they got to do what's best for the team. So do they see a future with this player on it? I mean, I think there is, probably a future that they do see with this player on it, but they got to make decisions that are best for the team. Again, if you look at the advanced analytics, do not throw Keandre Miller away. Do not trade him for nothing. Do not trade him for the sake of trading him, right? Keep him unless you're getting a good package back or you're getting something that you need in return. Right? He's still young, and when paired with Adam Fox, was actually pretty effective last year for what it's worth, right? Obviously not a great season. Nobody really had a great season on the Rangers, but when paired with him, not bad. Now, talking Rangers also give their end of season report cards, Keandre Miller an F last year. You have to take all these things into consideration. I think that they have the opportunity here to continue to keep this player, re-sign him to a good contract, a team-friendly contract, which he's going to get a raise. Everybody's getting raises at this point. The salary cap's going up like crazy. But the fact that, talking Rangers is giving him an F, everyone's saying that his season was horrible. His agent was asking for a significant raise, a long-term contract. Everybody's scoffing at that. I don't think he's going to sign for $4 million. He's going to get a bit of a raise, right? Like I said, the salary cap's going up, but something that is reasonable, not something that's absolutely insane. You have the opportunity to keep him here, play him in a pairing that works, right? That, put him in a position to succeed. This organization hates doing that with a lot of its players, especially young players. Put him in a position to succeed, and he's going to be under Mike Sullivan and maybe an entirely new coaching staff. We don't know what's going to happen with the defense, the coaching staff. Muse and Pekka, we don't know what's going to happen with them yet, right? So we're going to see what's going to happen there, but I think they have an opportunity to keep this player on a somewhat team-friendly contract, and I would. I'm not too eager. He had horrible stretches last year, right? Absolutely horrible stretches, but I think that there is an avenue to keep a player like this, and there is a reason to. Don't trade him just for the sake of trading him. You have him under team control as an RFA as well. Now, Taylor Hall just signed a new contract, and some of the things around the contract, right, fine print, whatever you want to call it, is pretty interesting. And I think Drury should probably start looking at other contracts like this instead of handing out the no movement clauses like the Jacob Trouba's, the Barclay Goodrow, all these other contracts, Mika Zibanejad, all of that, right? And so you don't get stuck with a lot of these players. Now, Taylor Hall, 3-year contract. You can see the salary breakdown, all of that stuff. So if Hall has 35 points or fewer in year 2 of 3 of this contract, then year 3 becomes a 10-team no trade clause instead of no move. If I'm Drury, I'm doing this to every contract moving forward. Why isn't every GM doing this? Performance-based, right? Like, if you didn't have a good year 2 of 3 of your contract, in year 3, we can trade you. It should be performance-based. If Mika Zibanejad, Keandre Miller go into next season, let's say they were signed, and, you have a bad season, we can trade you next year, right? It gives incentive to actually have a good season, put up points, try it, because this season the players just quit and they knew they were going to get paid and nothing was going to happen about it, right? So let's see what they can do with some of the interesting contract stuff there. Now, there was a fan survey through The Athletic just a couple days ago on what to do with Keandre Miller, and Rangers fans had their vote. 1,500 responses. Sign him to a shorter deal. Shorter deal, more team-friendly in terms of AAV as well, and I think we're all on the same page there. Well, not the whole fan base. Let me know in the comments if you don't want to re-sign Keandre Miller. Like I said, he has all the tools, hasn't really put it together yet at 25. There's a new coach coming in. We're going to see what's going to happen with that. But I think the no-brainer option here is sign this player to a shorter, bridge contract, not worth that much. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Lots of articles, lots of speculation out here. As frustrating as the season has been, however, the Rangers should bring back Keandre Miller. So I think that's actually how most people think, because, you know, it's very logical for the Rangers to keep Keandre Miller at this point. But again, the contract has to make sense, and if he wants too much, then you look for avenues to trade him. But don't trade him just for the sake of trading him, because that would come back as a mistake and to bite them in the butt. So let me know what you think in the comments about Keandre Miller. Would you keep him? Would you trade him? Contract extension? What would the number be that you would be comfortable with? I think if they go 6.5 or something like that, that might be okay as a bridge. There's a new coach coming in, right? If he plays with Fox, it could be interesting. We'll see what happens. I'm choosing to stay optimistic through this offseason. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.